In the rolling hills of what is today KwaZulu-Natal, long before European settlers carved maps of Africa, a story was being written. It was not just the story of great kings or mighty warriors, but also of a woman, fierce, brilliant, and unrelenting. Her name was Mkabayi kaJama, and she would become one of the most powerful figures in Zulu history. Mkabayi was born in the mid-18th century, the daughter of King Jama, leader of the small Zulu clan. From the very beginning, she was different. Unlike most women of her time, she refused marriage. Tradition demanded that royal daughters be married off to strengthen alliances with neighboring clans. But Mkabayi had no interest in being bound by another household. She chose instead to remain single, free to pursue power, influence, and destiny. This choice shocked many, but it gave her something priceless: independence. When King Jama died, the kingdom trembled. His heir, Senzangakona, was still young and unprepared to rule. In that moment of crisis, Mkabayi did something extraordinary. She stepped forward as regent, guiding her brother's leadership and keeping the Zulu clan together. A woman, ruling in a world of men. From then on, her voice carried weight in every council, her shadow stretched across every decision. Years later, Senzangakona fathered a child with a woman named Nandi. That child was Shaka. His early life was one of struggle and humiliation. Born out of wedlock, he was scorned by his father's household and mocked by other children. He grew up in exile, hardened by rejection, his pride bruised but his spirit unbroken. Many saw only a boy cursed by shame. Mkabayi, however, saw something else. She saw a spark, the fire of a warrior, the steel of a leader. She became one of his earliest and strongest supporters. When Senzangakona died, the throne of the Zulu was contested. Brothers and rivals circled like vultures, each hoping to seize power. It was then that Mkabayi made her boldest gamble. She threw her support behind Shaka, the illegitimate, the outcast, the underestimated son. Through her political cunning and influence, she cleared his path to the throne. Without Mkabayi, there would have been no Shaka Zulu. And what a king he became. Shaka was unlike any leader Southern Africa had ever seen. He revolutionized the Zulu military. He abandoned the old throwing spear and introduced the short stabbing spear, the Ikelwa, designed for close combat. He drilled his warriors into regiments, disciplined, fast, and merciless. He created the legendary bull horn formation, surrounding enemies and crushing them with devastating efficiency. Under Shaka's command, the Zulu transformed from a small clan into a mighty empire. Neighboring tribes either submitted or were destroyed. The land trembled beneath the march of Zulu warriors. Songs of Shaka's conquest spread far and wide, and his name echoed across the valleys like thunder. Behind the throne, quietly but firmly, was Mkabayi. She had raised Shaka, guided him, and placed him upon the seat of kings. In many ways, she was the architect of the Zulu kingdom's rise. She had created greatness, but greatness always comes at a cost. As Shaka's power grew, so did his ruthlessness. His punishments were severe, his control absolute. Discipline in the army was harsh, and those who faltered faced death. The people obeyed him, but they also began to fear him. Then, in 1827, tragedy struck. Shaka's beloved mother, Nandi, died. Overcome with grief, Shaka fell into madness. He ordered a year of mourning so extreme that life itself nearly stopped. Crops could not be planted. Milk, the staple of life, was forbidden. Pregnant women were executed, for no child could be born while the kingdom mourned. Thousands of lives were lost to grief, starvation, and brutality. For the Zulu people, their once great king had become a tyrant. For Mkabayi, the woman who had built him, the truth became clear. The king she had created was now a danger to the nation. And so, she made her most ruthless choice. Mkabayi began to conspire with Shaka's half-brothers, Dingaan and Malangana. They too saw opportunity in his instability. Together, they plotted the unthinkable, the assassination of the mighty Shaka Zulu. It was a dangerous plan. Shaka's warriors were loyal, his reach was long, and failure would mean death. But Mkabayi had survived palace intrigues before. She had outmaneuvered rivals, toppled threats, and placed kings upon the throne. She knew exactly how to move in the shadows. In September 1828, the trap was sprung. Shaka was lured to a kraal near Kwa Dukuza. As he stood with his half-brothers, warriors struck. Spears pierced the great king's body. The man who had built an empire, who had conquered nations, who had terrified the land, was cut down not by enemies from afar, but by those closest to him. And behind it all was Mkabayi. The woman who had raised him to power had now destroyed him. But Mkabayi's story did not end there. She lived on, into her 80s, a rare feat in those days. She remained a force in Zulu politics through the reigns of Dingaan and later Mpand. Time and again, she positioned herself as the guardian of the throne, the woman who ensured stability even as kings rose and fell. To some, she was a protector, the wise matriarch who kept the nation alive through dangerous times. To others, she was feared, a manipulator who would stop at nothing, even betrayal, to maintain control. Her life was a paradox, loyal and treacherous, protective and ruthless, revered and hated. Yet, no one could deny her impact. She was the maker of kings. She was the unmaker of kings. She was the thread that tied together the story of Zulu power in its most dramatic age. Today, when we remember Shaka Zulu, we often speak of his armies, his battles, and his empire. But behind his story stands another, the story of a woman who never married, who never bore children, yet gave birth to the destiny of a nation. Her name was Mkabayi, the woman who created Shaka Zulu, and the woman who destroyed him,